Y'all ready? 1 second, I need an intro. Who am I trying to get with? Babes. I'm trying to get right, God.
I want to let y'all know I feel this in the back of my bowels saying, I believe in you, poet. And I don't know why that made me so much more nervous.
Okay, reading is fundamental. And if you read, you know what we're talking about today. If you just clicked because you've seen a pretty face, well, let me tell you what we're talking about today. We are talking about manipulating the maturity of minors. Let's get into it. So when I was younger, again, this started off with a conversation about compartmentalized maturity, which I'm going to do a separate full video on. And what I mean by compartmentalized maturity is how I can be the most mature parent I know, and yet a very immature partner or very immature sibling. And then I started to think more about why this is, and it's because I didn't give certain areas enough space to grow because I was so worried about keeping the maturity level of one area in which I was already groomed. So let's talk about it for real. I started babysitting when I was 6 years old, and that is a very real number. It's not me being hyperbolic. That is the age, okay? Me, kindergarten, going into first grade, I was babysitting, and not just babysitting like, oh, all the adults are upstairs and I'm downstairs with the other kids. No, alone in a house babysitting, cooking dinosaur nuggets, smiley potatoes, and Kraft mac and cheese. Gross, but I was cooking it. Making bottles, changing booties. I was babysitting, for real, for real. With babysitting, they start telling me how mature I am for my age, and I start to act age appropriate. So in my mind, I am propelled forward. I'm not 6, I am 16, and I need to start acting age appropriate for how mature they're saying. I need to meet them there. So the standard is the standard is in hell. Let's start there. Anytime you need to tell a 6-year-old she's mature for her age to take care of a 4-month-old, girl, you done said 4-month-old. Let's have a moment of silence for my brain. For a 4-month-old, boop. You're sick, and the standard is in hell. You're a sick individual. You're so mature for your age. Now help me X, Y, and Z. And the way the timeline appeared in my life was so sickening looking back at it. Because it started with, hey, do you mind if I go to the store that's right down there? Like this store attached to their apartment. Fine. Then it turns into the store that's across the street. Cool. Then it turns into the one up the street. Cool. Then it turns into a Marshall's run and TJ Maxx run, and I'm gonna just go to Walmart and don't worry about it. Everything got further and further and further away. Next thing you know, she putting on pasties on a Friday night, and I'm doing a club run. I am babysitting for the club. And not only am I babysitting your two, you have convinced your friends that it's also okay for me to babysit. So now I'm running this daycare, and guess what? You not paying, because you have made me believe that it is almost a chore, something I should do. And it got to a point where I was complaining about it because it's like, I wasn't able to participate in after school programs because of my sister's work hours. Once this one babysitting gig got widespread, everyone started to believe that I was able to take on this huge capacity, and I was unable to go to after school programs. I couldn't have a normal child life. Because of my siblings' work hours, it was in conflict. So I had to sacrifice to make sure that they could go to work because that was the more important need. And it got so bad that one time I went to my dad to just tell him like, hey, this is that and the third's happening. I'm really unhappy and I don't want to babysit anymore. And if I absolutely have to, because it was a mandatory thing at this point in my life, and if I absolutely have to, I would like to be compensated for it. And his reply to me was, well, back in the day, we used to just look out for each other. And maybe your aunt would babysit you, and then we would babysit their kids, and we just lived in a nice little ecosystem. Y'all are missing a very fun fact. I'm 11. At the time of this conversation, yeah. I'm 11 and I don't have kids. So there's no bartering that I'm doing. I don't even have money for pizza day. You know what I went and I did? Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? I was selling quarter bags of hot Cheetos for $1. Cause that's how I was gonna keep my pocket change up. Cause nobody was paying you, girl. And if you went to Manchester Elementary or Manchester Middle at me, cause you know it's true. You know it's true. You know it's true. I just banged myself in the mouth and I'm not gonna pretend like it didn't happen because y'all can obviously see it. And I just wanna acknowledge that I know. So y'all don't have to go in the comments and say that or sausage. You have options. That's my origin story. And from 6 years old to 25, I've been taking care of children nonstop. When I turned 21, I actually started to fight to gain custody of my niece and nephew and was successful by 22 and fully had them in my house, was running a house. I was a parent. I was no longer the #1 aunt in the world. I was top-notch glamour chick of parenting, okay? Because that's what I was doing. I was doing my fizzle with that one. And I want to really raise awareness about how this seems like a small incident. My siblings told me I was mature for my age, and it doesn't seem predatory until now. And when you take this language and you transfer it into the grown men who pick up the young girls from middle school and from high school because they're so mature for their age, they don't feel like there's anything wrong with it because it sounds like a compliment. It doesn't sound like grooming. It doesn't sound predatory. This is very, very dangerous in every aspect and no matter who it is coming from, because children are missing out on key functions of being a child. Me being propelled so far into the future of maturity really stunted my growth in other areas. I was always worried about how I could effectively take care of others, and I wasn't able to communicate how others could effectively take care of me. Even just in shared spaces, in friendships, I've always suppressed my feelings to make sure that someone else is okay. Then when I got to a certain point, and maybe when I was about 12, I tried to start being more vocal about my role and how I am and who I am, and honestly start offering up advice based off of what I've observed with their children and things of that nature. And then they wanted to remind me then to stay in a child's place, that I'm not a mother, that I'm not a significant authoritative figure in anyone's life. Because I guess I'm now not mature for my age. I'm now overstepping a boundary when I say, hey, it's concerning that my nephew doesn't know the months of the year. Okay, maybe that's something I don't bring to you next time, right? Now I'm just teaching him the months of the year. Now I'm just teaching him to tie a shoe. Even though I didn't necessarily have the capacity, but my brain has always functioned in a way to create the capacity. When someone needs space, you create the capacity for them, and that's how I've always functioned. So now I adapt and I make sure the child is good. And my whole life has just been a continuation of that. I'm just gonna make sure the child is good, make sure the child is good, make sure the child is good. So much so that if I'm not in a serving role, I don't feel well. I don't feel well about a role, you know? I've been in a relationship where, well, almost relationship where this man was all, I want to give you the world. And I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with all the world I'm trying to give you, sir? I don't understand. You want to give me the world? And it just was not computing. And ultimately, it was a mismatch for the time because I didn't know how to receive. I have been conditioned so thoroughly to give that I found it insulting to receive. And that, my friends, is sad AF, okay? But I went into the relationship not knowing how to articulate my just needs as a human, and also not knowing my needs as a human, because my full function has always been to take care of others. I haven't had time to think about who I am in relationships because I haven't had time to think about who I am outside of parenting. So I'm toggling between these two relationships when I am struggling to have a relationship with myself. And all of this started from a very small, manipulative compliment of you are mature for your age. And some of y'all are gonna be like, oh my gosh, Your Honor, she is reaching, stretching, if you will, but I promise you, I am not Mrs. Incredible. And these things, they correlate. They correlate, they're right there. And if you are having an issue with finding the connecting piece, you might be the piece.
Okay, so I was getting a little ranty in the middle, so we're just gonna fast forward. Yep.
I have done the best that I possibly could as a parent, and that's a damn good job, okay? I want to let y'all know. And y'all can survey my kids about that one. But also, there are some things that I'm finding now that I'm alone and having this time and having this intimate relationship with myself, that I'm realizing like, oh girl, you are failing in a lot of other areas. You're failing in a lot of other areas. You didn't grow maturity in these other areas because you were so hyper mature in this one. You thought it was going to cover a multitude of categories, and it does not. It absolutely does not. I'm encouraging families to stop this predatory practice. One, recognize it as a predatory practice, and allow children to have their childhood. It's so often that I'm in conversations with people and they're like, oh yeah, I want to wait till my son is old enough or my daughter is old enough to have another child so that they can help me with this child. That is not a child's role. There's so many times that I've gone to babysit for one of my siblings, and my niece is, oh, yeah, what do you need? I can help you. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. I can do that. And I have to remind them, while I'm here, your job is to be a child. Well, I typically do X, Y, no. But while I'm here, your job is to be a child. I am trying to gift that back to you because I understand when I'm not here, you function in a higher capacity than what you're supposed to. You're supposed to be a team, okay? Yaya can make you a peanut butter and jelly too. You don't have to be alongside me cutting crust. It's not your role. Your role is to be a child. Enjoy that. I'm here. So that is today's whole kit and caboodle today. It got a little ranty in the middle there, so we're gonna figure it out. But thank you for listening.